Good relationships in business are the key to success. Welcome to the Cinegration Station with your conductors Ryan and AJ. Today the guest is the president and CEO of ProSource, Jim Pearse. Jim came to the studio and sat down with the fellas and discussed current tech industry topics. So tune in now here on the Cinegration Station.
Welcome to the Cinegration Station. This is your conductor, Ryan.
So I am AJ.
And we have a special guest here. This is the CEO of ProSource, Jim Pearse. Jim, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Some people, if you don't know what ProSource is, we're going to go through a little bit of a deep dive and talk about that. And Jim, just to give us the, set it off, could you tell us a little bit about your experience in the industry and what ProSource is?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry over 40 years, which is crazy. I grew up at a company called Ultimate Electronics in Denver, Colorado.
Whoop, Denver.
I know that well.
Yeah, so
Denver,
that's why I'm back in Denver.
Nice.
And so it was a great run. We were a high-touch kind of big box retailer, and we grew kind of in the middle of the country to 64 stores. And the industry began to change a little bit, and so I moved on from there and did a variety of other things, and then ended up at a wireless company up in Seattle, in Costco and military bases. And ProSource called up a year ago and said, hey, look, we'd like you to come consider taking over and running this thing for us.
Bring in the industry veteran, bring your experience into ProSource.
Well, it's interesting because Pro Group was started with 8 retailers, and it was actually started by my father 40 years ago. Okay. And so there's this really weird connection, me taking over as CEO and him kind of being one of the founding guys. It's a really powerful concept. Yeah,
every time we go to a ProSource event, it's like it's just so engaging, so fun. Like, we always want to learn more about what's happening. And could you tell us, like, what does ProSource do, for integrators? What do they do for manufacturers?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So we have over 420 integrators, and then we have 100, kind of big integrators that are in ProSource. And what happens in an industry like this is the integration channel is largely misunderstood because, it's rare that a CEO of Sony would come here and sit down, just because they're talking to Best Buy and all these big companies.
Oh, sure.
And so
the retail
the
market.
idea is to create a community and a representation to the manufacturers so that they begin to understand what are your specific needs, and they could begin to build product that matches the needs that you have. Like, you guys have completely different needs than general, consumer electronics.
It's not like we're yelling at a brick wall and nobody's listening to us.
Yeah. So there's that piece of it, and then we're also able to invest resources to do education. So we have a program called Launchpad, which teaches members how to get into lighting and shading. Great. And we go soup to nuts over 3 days on how the business works. And
LTC, LTC was a fantastic experience for our group.
Both of us have been to LTC at separate times, and it was just fantastic.
Lighting technology certification for those.
Yeah, it takes a learning curve of multiple years and narrows it down to a more specific, kind of period. And so I love that stuff. And we just did a project manager. We just kicked off a project manager class.
Oh, that's great.
And you guys know in your business, project managers touch a lot of customers and your employees, and teaching them how to just get stronger. So our job is to, really kind of look into the industry, where are opportunities for you, and be a resource that you can rely on to help you get to where you want to go.
And I think we feel like you're doing a great job doing that, because we get the exposure we need to the events. When we talk to our territory representative, Brian just came in. It was really great to talk with him, and he's always on top of what's going on with the brands. So for us, it's you offer a great solution for us to just do better business without having to think about our clients. It's really just our core business we could focus on too.
Yeah, and I think Cinegration is a great example of an amazing company, and you guys are doing just incredible work, and you have a lot of customers and a lot of moving parts in your business, and so we're able to give you maybe some perspective that you don't have time to get to, and it's really satisfying because you guys start to get into other areas of the business that maybe you hadn't thought about. It's really
totally.
a lot of fun.
I love going to the ProSource summits. Yeah. I learn just so much. A lot of our business tactics and strategies that we've used over the last couple of years, a lot of them have come from the ProSource meetings. In fact, it was the COVID one where Dave Workman was still president, and it was like the country shut down like the very next day after that summit. Eric and I were on the plane, and we just decided we were going to go all in with shades and lighting. And we're now starting to see the fruits of that, endeavor. And it took a while to get used to it, and you guys have been a really big help.
Well, thanks for saying that. I think that lights and shading in this industry are a great example of the evolution. I have a concept called, the technology general manager on, really important, homes that you guys, serve. And when you think about technology as it enters into lighting, and there's health aspects to it, and you can really change people's lives with the lighting category. Without you guys, that doesn't, it was going nowhere. And then even shading, a lot of people don't understand that, their shades can be powered and they can go up and down when you want them to. We just saw a shade with lights in it. And I mean, it's really incredible.
Yeah, shading is unique because it's hard for people to do it 100% correctly and to work with the integrated systems on the back end of the home. And that's obviously where we thrive, is that turnkey service. So Shades has been it's been elevating our business. I mean, if you look around, we have probably 25 motorized shades in our office and maybe 10 windows on our exterior, mainly because we have them on display and we get to showcase all the different styles.
Well, it's interesting when you look at your life and you think about the things that you interact with every single day in your life. Lighting and shades are, involved in your life every day. And
even this furniture, this is AV-centric furniture meant for your media room.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you're bringing this a totally different experience into people's homes, and when you see it in action, it's really amazing. And so I'm proud of you guys for doing what you've done, and the industry continues to gain more and more strength, working with designers, working with builders, working with architects, and they're beginning to understand the power that you guys have.
Yeah, and I would say, Jim, you probably, between us three, you have probably the most exposure, whether it's us or other integrators in this area, of what's happening in the industry. And I know you were traveling a lot, going to see manufacturers, other, really elite style dealers throughout the country. Are there a few things you could talk about that are happening in our industry that you see, changes that might be going on, things we don't see that are happening?
Yeah, I would say we've covered lighting and shades, and that's, suddenly become 20-30% of many of our members' businesses. Sure. And, I think the next two categories that are beginning to evolve are health and wellness. And we do it with lights, and health and wellness, with lights is really important. But when you start to think about water, you start to think about air, there's a lot of technology that's being developed in that category, right? And so, the days of just slamming in an air conditioner and a filtered system.
Yeah. And then don't look at it, don't touch it for 10 years, you'll be fine. You know.
I mean, it's all old technology. It's been around 70 years, and so there's a lot of really interesting technology coming out there that I think you guys can represent well. And I would say the other thing is when you think about water, and clean water. There's a lot of amazing technology as it relates to water, and as it interacts with your house and notifies you what's going on with your water. It's another area that's really kind of gaining a lot of traction. And the third pillar that I'm seeing is control power. So
power systems and power plans and things like that. And we actually just had, and I guess it'll be on the previous episode with the CET team, we discussed power plans with their group, Mark and Michael. They are a wealth of knowledge on power systems specifically meant for luxury and high-end projects. So, it's been really amazing to learn some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you think about electric panels, I mean, it's the same breaker box. It's been, it's been around forever.
Sure.
And so it's really neat to see that technology coming in. And what's great about you is that you guys in your company, is that in our industry, is that we're able to represent, sorry about that.
Bring, 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 bring.
It's probably a member.
There you go, always on call.
Wanting to yell at me for something. So when you think about your position in the business, you're in this area of technology, you're able to represent it make sure that it's spec'd properly, and and then install it in a way that is reliable and satisfy, and really can change.
You brought up earlier, us getting in touch with architects and builders, and that's where I've seen our industry really change. As architects are now, we're not the redheaded stepchild of the construction world. Now we're right there with the plumbers and the electricians, and we're in those meetings, and we're finally getting that recognition of, technology is important and it really does matter. And it's, and a good integrator can make that fulfilled.
Well, the cool thing is that you're making them more successful, because if they're a builder that's putting in technology properly and they have a relationship with you, they're much stronger, and they have a lot more satisfied customers.
Sure.
And even architects and designers, designers has been very interesting to me, because it used to be stay away from the lights, stay away from the shades, I got it. Now they're like, can you come in? Because the experience is so much better. It's really,
we
really
have
great.
saved some interior designers on shade projects many a time.
Yeah.
Because we're here to help.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, and shades they're difficult to get lighting just right. Difficult, I guess is not the word. It just takes a lot of engineering. It takes a lot of smart people to really make it come through.
Well, it's scientific when you really think about it. And the designers in this industry, for the lighting designers, are really the kind of core driver of this evolution, because there's so many different ways that you can light a house, and really understanding how to utilize the technology in certain circumstances to get the desired result.
And they're even, critically thinking about which way the house is positioned for the best, solar approach or heat gain, but not having the intention on the windows that you're pointing towards that way. It's like, this other layer of it that sometimes that doesn't go into
and sometimes just
thought.
taking an art piece that is just a piece of art on the wall and making it completely different.
You mentioned earlier we were talking about air and water, and I was actually at a meeting with Michael Ham, I believe is his name.
Okay.
And he was he runs Repair.
Yeah, I know him.
The air and water guys, and that was really interesting. I didn't realize how small a coronavirus molecule was. I got to learn a bunch of new stuff.
Smaller than most filters that people make?
It is actually smaller than most filters.
How convenient, COVID.
And so this is where, we can use technology to explain this science. And that's the thing I really liked what he was doing is, it's I can tell a person, just replace your filter every 4 weeks. But now, with this new tech that's coming out, I can monitor the actual, what's actually in the air in that room, and then we can start making educated selections of now how do we proceed.
Yeah, and there's a whole nother level, like when you look at a Culligan system, or traditionally what people think of as clean water, it's really not clean. That's what I learned from him. And there's a whole different level of clean in the really, really small micromolecules that they get into your body, small plastics and so on and so forth. And so now that technology is coming in, and it's not just a normal paper filter, that's where you start to get really clean water and really healthy homes.
Yeah, I did not know that when you got a water system from those guys, you actually sent a water sample, and then the filter selection and timings of all that was calculated for your water, and you're supposed to repeat that test, cyclically, once a year.
Because the water's not always going to be the same.
Exactly.
So, okay.
And it matters a lot with wells. Well water can change, and some interesting. It blew my mind how much it's there's so much more I got to learn.
And that's what I love is this level of legitimacy that it adds to an AV business, which is not really an AV business now. We're home integrators, we're educators, we're resources for clients, architects, and builders. But now we can come at it at a position where this is fundamentally healthier for your lifestyle, which is only happens when we get engaged with ProSource and groups like that. So, it's so great to kind of come to a full circle and see that we truly benefit the individual. It's not just the expensive TV on the wall. It's a better lifestyle for our clientele.
Yeah, I think that's a huge transition, and I think an excellent point that creating a healthy lifestyle, that's pretty cool. and it's very, very satisfying, and I think a huge job. And once people begin to understand it, another thing you said I think is important is the education of all of this stuff, and really being able to sit down with a customer and explain to them all those real benefits is super powerful. There's nobody else that can do it.
It's Dr. Cinegration at your service. No, we're not doctors.
CD is coming up.
Yes, sir.
So you're a speaker there, and I heard the keynote person is actually going to be talking about AI, and we've actually had a number of conversations about AI, ChatGPT. I am fascinated by it. We actually have used it a number of times, just kind of messing around, and it's been really interesting. I was curious what are your thoughts of how that is going to work in our industry?
Yeah, so I think there's two applications for it. First is the functional application in the business to make your businesses more efficient, and you start to think about doing design with AI, you start to think about doing quotes with AI, and you're able to
You're going to get rid of me if you're going to do quotes with AI. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it'll make your life a lot easier.
You're totally right.
And then what you can do is you could begin to provide education in the home in a way that you could never do. I mean, you could give them a full manual on what they're going to have in their home and all the pros and cons of those things. And so I think that there's a functional benefit.
Totally.
I think as it relates to in-home, the control piece of our industry is evolving very, very quickly. And I'm very interested to see there's a variety of companies like Josh AI, for example, that is using AI to really evolve their platform so that it is much, much easier to use, more effective. Like Josh AI, you walk around the Cinegration studio and you can talk to your system and it works.
Let's see if it works. Hey Josh, set the lights to electric violet.
Ooh, look at that.
Hey Josh, set the lights to 3,500 Kelvin. Oh, and look at that.
So that's AI technology, right? And so when you think about using that technology to make this really complicated things happen in the home super easy for the homeowner, incredible.
Oh, for us to get those pink lights on through a control system, I mean, you could do it, but it's multiple steps. And I will say there is nothing more frustrating for a homeowner that just bought a multi-million-dollar house and they're telling Alexa to turn off the on shades. And it's these very mashed up commands. So this is like we've talked about, we've had Bridget on with Josh. It's natural linguistics. You say what you want to say and the things happen as they should. It's not a weird robotic command that you need to speak.
I think it's evolving very quickly. It's still very new in the industry, but I'm excited to see what the future holds for sure.
We've preached at Cinegration this concept of there is a smart home or there's a connected home, and then there's a smart home. And a connected home is something that you can control, you can turn off, you can turn on, and the smart home reacts. And now I'm seeing the next evolution of that is not only can it react, it can adapt and evolve with your customer. Like I've always imagined, right, if you had a child, they're born into this smart home world, right? And as it grows up, this AI engine learns with the person and changes the entire atmosphere of the home.
I do think there's a level of education that goes along with that, because we see this one instance quite often of water shutoffs and automated water valves, where it'll do such a good job where it'll annoy the client because it detected something abnormal to their daily use, so it turned the water off. Yeah, and that's more of an education thing because it's doing its job. It's just doing it too well. Yeah.
When you deal with notifications, it's right. You want to notify somebody when there's a problem, but a false notification or a false positives are like the worst, because now you start to distrust the system.
Right.
And so we work really hard to mitigate those, but it's a moving target, and it's an evolving situation. And those alerts were put in to let us know there's a problem, and then if it was wrong, now it's an opportunity for us to figure out why it was a problem and how to improve it.
Well, it's another great thing about ProSource when you think about a resource is the relationships between you and all of the other members. And so this stuff isn't easy to do, to your point. And so when problems do pop up, the power of ProSource is that you have 400 people that you can call that somebody's seen it, and you're able to do Slack channels and things like that. So we're able to serve the customer much quicker, much more effective, and we don't have to search our way through all of this. We can know very, very quickly what that solution might be and get it implemented.
Yeah, that network is great, and every time we meet people in our space who we may see as competitors, they're not. I mean, we're just all trying to do our best to make sure the clients are happy and continue to support the integrator industry, because we just don't want somebody not doing the right process and leaving a sour taste in a customer's mouth. It ruins business for everybody. So I think we all try to lift each other up and just grow our section of the business.
Yeah, and I think another powerful thing is you guys run into there's old consumer electronics, regular AVRs, regular speakers, regular TVs, and what the industry is doing now, what industry leadership is doing from Sony and Samsung and all of these different manufacturers is they're beginning now to create products just for the CI channel. And you can't find those products anywhere else. When you look at the outdoor TVs that you have been created, when you look at some of the 100-inch TVs from Samsung, there's a lot of new products that are coming out now that are really based on your guys' feedback. And it's incredible to see that the manufacturers are really beginning to start to pay attention.
Yesterday, you missed the party, but the Sony guys were there, and my favorite part of what they were communicating with us was that all of their new products are. Well, this will be post Cedia, so all their stuff will be overseas compatible. So you will be able to edit any configuration of any receiver setting remotely.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And it's a huge
no
thing
truck
for
rolls
us.
involved.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about it, and that comes from your guys' feedback. Like I go to Asia in October, and we'll meet with the president of Sony. And and when you're able to do that, then and they get interested in something, then they begin to make the put overseeing everything.
We see it happening before our eyes. About an hour before this meeting, we had the Sony team here, the rep, and the team members from Japan, and they just wanted to listen to us. They wanted to hear our feedback, how we're doing installs, what's going on in our business, and extremely refreshing. It's not very often that you see that, and it's fantastic. So.
Yeah, and I think the downline benefit to the consumer is that there's products that really match their lifestyle in a totally different way that's never been seen before.
Instead of the integrator being like, that's just how it is. Yeah. It's like, that's how it is because we were able to do it that way. Yeah. So that is great.
What I've liked about ProSource is that it's given us the opportunities to do those things. Yeah. So if I was just, 2014, we weren't part of ProSource. If I wanted to talk to Sony, I mean, how? Yeah. How could I possibly do that?
It's a 1-800 number. Just call on the back of the box.
Yeah.
And now with ProSource, it's like an elite. I don't want to say elite. That's the wrong word. But an elite group of people that are all dedicated to the same cause. And that's what I really like about it.
And what's interesting, when I think about ProSource and our strategy, we want the best of the best, which obviously you guys fall into that category. And I think that when I go to the manufacturers and talk to them about our members, I constantly try and clarify that we have the very best. Like, we've vetted everybody out, and the reason for that is I want them to have trust in you, that you're able to take their technology that we've asked them to build and be able to implement it at scale, with their customers. And in this industry, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I understand what you're saying. When your voice isn't heard, they'll just make whatever they want to make. And having the engineers actually sitting down with you and saying, explain to me how this works. Really awesome.
With Cedia coming up, is there any other things we should look forward to for additional ProSource events down the line that you want to highlight before we
so we're going to be having a cocktail party so that all the members can come together, which is one of the more powerful things, so everybody can network and meet new people, and so that'll be invitation only, and you guys should have your invites to come to that. What we're doing at that show, my role at that show is to kind of go through and meet with all the executives throughout the industry. And then we have a district manager team, you mentioned Brian earlier, that is incredible. and they're working to connect our members with the various new brands that maybe you haven't recognized or you haven't thought of, so that you're able to have another resource to help you look around the corner, look for new opportunities in the industry that maybe you haven't seen.
Yeah, and when AJ and I would go to CEDIA, last CEDIA, we want to see those. We want to see the startups. We want to see the ones that are fixing the problems that we see day to day. So the innovation is what we look forward to.
Yeah, the innovation alley is what they call it at CEDIA. It's absolutely my favorite. If I go to one thing per CEDIA, that would be it.
Yeah.
So
you look for the booth with almost nothing on it, and then
a guy that's sweating.
The cheapest setup possible. And you talk to them and you see what's going on.
That's the guy who knows the most usually.
Yeah.
So I look forward to hanging out with you guys there, and it's in Denver this year, so should be fun.
Yeah, that will be great. And then otherwise, people could look for other certifications. If you're through ProSource, that those are resources online, and people could talk to the team if they're a part of ProSource. I'm talking to obviously the integrators out there. Plus, Jim, maybe we'll work on your house one day, okay?
Yeah. So I will say I appreciate our relationship. We've become very good friends, and you guys are going to be doing my house, which I'm excited about, and I'm a pretty easygoing customer, hopefully.
That's what they all say.
They all start out that way.
It's like, we're easy.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed getting to know you guys, and I compliment you on your great success here.
All right. Well, we're gonna keep it up, and a lot of that success is brought by us, because of your influence and the ProSource team. So with that being said, we're going to sign off. This is your conductor, Ryan.
So AJ.
And Jim Pearse, CEO of ProSource. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What an exciting conversation with President and CEO of ProSource, Jim Pearse. We'd like to thank Jim for coming into the studio today and being on the show. You've been listening to the Cinegration Station. You can find the podcast on every major platform: Anchor, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube. Please go like, subscribe, share with a friend, leave a comment or a question. And until next time, stay smart.